Welcome to Create Your Happy, the podcast that empowers conscious women in life, relationship, and business. I'm your host, Christy Holt, happiness, hussy, and conscious funpreneur on a mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. Now get ready, because on this very special bonus season, we are going to take your entrepreneurial journey to a whole nother level. These uncut conversations are designed to support you as you unleash your entrepreneurial brilliance upon the world. My incredible guests and I have come together with a shared vision to empower women to fully embrace their humanness, find their unique voice, and lead with love. All right, gorgeous, it's time to get curious and become inspired. It's time to create your happy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited to hop into today's masterclass with the incredible Leks Vucko, aka HercuLeks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have this incredible conversation about really boosting your productivity in a short sort of summarization. So welcome to the show, Leks. I would love to invite you to share a little bit about yourself, about your story, and what got you to this place here where you were just so passionate about helping people become more productive so that they can create more time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Always great conversations with you. So we might as well record and share with the world.
That's right.
Well, the reason I'm so passionate about this is, my background is in fitness, and I started fitness 20 years ago, and I wanted to share with people how awesome it is to work out and how great it makes you feel. And then it was like, okay, they need help with nutrition. So I started with that. And then I was like, okay, well, there's still something missing. Oh, it's the mindset. How do we shift that identity? And so as I started working more with people, and I had a fitness studio in Nashville, Tennessee, and I sold it in 2018. And as I started working more with business owners, it became so evident that so many of us have been programmed to think like workers, like employees, like that's what the school teaches you. The school is not about being productive. The school is about sitting there for 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours a day and getting the minimum amount of work done, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, well, how can I get that work done in 2 hours? Like, why would we spend so much time on that? And I started noticing a pattern first with me and then with my clients and other business owners where it's like, oh, yeah, I need to get that done. I'm going to get that done by next week. And it's like, we all know what that means. Oh, it's Monday. I got plenty of time. And then it's Friday. You didn't get it done. So that's when I started like really researching prioritization. How do I know what I need to do and how much time it's going to take me? But then there was this other part of how to get more done in less time. And my story really starts, well, after I sold my studio, I moved back to Eastern Europe where I'm from. And to make long story short, it was supposed to be happily ever after with my high school sweetheart that I haven't seen for 20 years. However, when I went back home, I was already pregnant. I was toward the end of my pregnancy, and like everything started falling apart. Like my dad was starting to show signs of dementia. My husband, it became very evident that he has an addiction to painkillers, which he hid for so long, so well, because he was embarrassed by it. He actually really wanted to get off of it, but he didn't know how. And then I was pregnant, right? So it was all these things like, how am I going to take care of my kid my mom had died years ago. So I didn't have safe space, So my baby was born. They actually told me there's something wrong with his blood work. We don't know what it is. You got to go to Children's Hospital. So like literally everything in my life was like, oh my God, can I just have one thing not fall apart? And when we got to Children's Hospital, they said, oh, we ran the test. Everything is fine. But stay here for the weekend just to make sure. We're going to run the test again. So I actually went into the mode of gratitude because I was like, whoa, this was literally the best news that I could have received. So my baby's okay. I can work with that. So the weekend passed. We were fine. We got out. And I still didn't have this stability anywhere. Nobody at that point, at that place, would rent to a person with a baby. Don't want to get into that. But I had nowhere, nothing to rely on. So I went to my mother-in-law's, who is a great person, but she didn't have much to offer. So I went there, and I remember going like, okay, everything's falling apart. My baby's okay. That's the main thing. How can I start rebuilding myself back up? Because the only thing that I can control, the only person that can control is me. Okay. And from that point, I started getting up, and I'm not a morning person. I started getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, doing yoga, studying, taking materials to learn about the mindset, to learn about the power of reprogramming yourself, to learn about productivity, all these things. And I started setting my environment mentally, physically, everywhere to build myself back up. I started working out. I started doing the 1 meal a day, the fasting thing that worked for me at the time. I started, oh my God, like everything in my house was there for a reason. Like, talk about efficiency. If this was reach of the hand, this was here, this was there for a reason. I mean, everything to the angle that it was set up for me to be the most efficient, because I was either sleeping while my baby was sleeping, or I was studying and moving on with my business. And that's where this really productivity thing was born. And like I said, then working with business owners, I was like, wow, we are really wasting a lot of time on things that are not necessary, and creating these routines and doing all these things instead of doing what we need to do, kind of playing it small. Yeah. And that's when I said, you know what, this is it. I'm not going to play small. I'm not going to let people around me play it small anymore. And I saw that quote, if you hang out with me long enough, I'm going to brainwash you to know that you can do whatever you want to do. That's me. Yeah. So that's when I started being that pusher, like someone that pushes people forward. And that's how we got to this place.
Brainwashing people in the best way, right? Like,
yes.
I think often too, like, I know some people might think I'm delusional for the way that I approach the world, you know, rose-colored glasses and all of these kinds of things. But I'm truly fucking happy. And so if I'm delusional, let it be.
And I'm not harming anybody, then let it be.
And
you know, some people are going to like you regardless, and some people are not going to like you regardless. So you might as well enjoy your happiness, right?
Yeah. We're not here to suffer. And like, this is the thing that is so pervasive. And actually, just before we went live, we were kind of talking about the way society's set up is actually propelling us into suffering. And that is not how we are meant to live. We've been sold this idea of the American dream, if you will. And like I was saying before, that's a nightmare, actually, when you really sit down and look at it, because it's so much conformity, so much fitting into a box, so much limits placed on what you can do, what you can create, what you can experience. And we're not meant to be limited.
And the moment you want to step outside of the norm, it gets really hard by design. Like, you want to move to a different country? Oh, here's a ton of paperwork for you to do, and here's things to deal with, and here's passports to wait on. Then you get there, and you're like, oh, you want to open a bank account? Well, there's a whole other spectrum of things. Like, everything's made hard. But if you stay in your lane, you get your job, you go and you pay your taxes, and you shut up, then it's going to be easy for you, except you're going to be miserable.
Easy,
this is why I tell people,
quote unquote.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's why I tell people, expect it to be challenging, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Yeah. It needs to be challenging. It has to, because you have to shape yourself to be the person you need to be, because society so far has shaped us not to be like that.
And challenging is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily hard or difficult as we often may think. It's actually opportunities for growth. And so if we can learn to shift our mindset around that into a growth mindset, opportunities before us, how am I going to learn and grow from this seemingly very shitty obstacle before me, then we can really start to elevate ourselves and create the life that we want, because we need those things. We need to grow and expand.
100%. You look at kids, that's what they do all the time. But then that's what I'm saying. School makes us stop doing that. Yep. And for example, you know, I watch my kid. He's coming right now. I watch, that's beautiful. I watch my kid here. He's drawing something. He's being creative. He wants to show me what he has. And then we get to societal pressure, to school, and we learn to play it small. And the thing about it, like, challenge or an obstacle is such an exciting word. Like, think about an obstacle course. The whole fun about an obstacle course
is overcoming
obstacles.
Yeah, overcoming.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So if you look at life like that, like, this is an obstacle course game, it changes your whole perspective. You start getting excited about it. You're overcoming these obstacles and challenges, and you're changing into who you need to become and enjoying the process of it. Because it's the process of the obstacle course that you're enjoying, right? Like, that's the whole point of it.
And the thing is, I think that people get confused about is they think that they have to do and become that version of themselves. And the truth is, buckle up, because the truth is you are already that version of you. You just need some of these these opportunities to refine you, to really settle into embodying those aspects of you that you already are. It is an opportunity, right, for you to actually showcase being that version of you. It's not out there
showing up.
It's not in the future. It's right here, right now. How are you going to show up? Because you are already her now. You just need to strip away some of the things that are blocking you from being that in this now moment, right?
Well, just the fact that you desire to be that is telling you you're already that. Because you would never desire what you don't believe is.
Yeah.
Right. And if somebody's hearing this for the first time, it may be hard to comprehend, but I would never desire something I can't be or I don't want to be. So the fact that I'm desiring is I already have that. I just have to find that within me. Now, there may be skills I need to learn.
Absolutely.
But I already have all these skills. Here's my little artist. Beautiful.
Like you are already possessing it, right? And the thing is, it can be messy. I like to say like messy fucking beautiful, because it is all of those things. And we as humans are complex. We are not just one thing or the other. We are all the things. And so within us, we have all possibilities. Now, what we pursue, and that is by what actions we take, right? Which is going to tie into our conversation about productivity. The actions we take define who we are showing up as and the experience we're having. So often we get stuck in the thinking, the feeling, which, okay, you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings. Your feelings are valid. But when you get stuck in the loop and then you start to think you are those things, you stay stuck in that loop even longer. And then you are not able to expand and grow beyond those things while you're stuck in that loop. So we want to break out of that loop. We want to step into all that we know we desire, because what you desire is what's meant for you. It already exists for you. You've just got to step up and claim it. And I know that's easier said than done, because if you're in the muck, you're thinking, how the fuck do I do that?
But that's why there's more of a urgency to do the work, because all that we just talked about, how much time is spent in that state instead of focusing on the future, right? Don't necessarily agree with 90% that Kanye West says, but I caught him saying this one thing that he said, why are we studying so much history in school? Why don't we have a future class? And I thought that was brilliant, because we're taught to focus on history. Oh, history is going to repeat itself. Cool. Know about history. But why are we not focusing on the future? Because the more time I'm spending in my past, the less time and energy I have for my future. And really, because thoughts create things, if I'm spending my time thinking about the past, it's the same kind of future that I'm creating.
Yeah, like same shit,
so
different day.
Also, exactly. Right? And also, when we think about something new, it's scary for the brain, right? It doesn't like the new because it's no, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. It's freaking out. But when you start thinking of that future and visualizing it even, or just even thinking about it over and over again, it becomes normalized in your mind, so your brain's not afraid of it anymore, and you step into that even faster. And that's why I love productivity, because it's like, I don't want to waste time. I want to shed these layers off of me, and I want to be that best version of me. And there is an urgency, because the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. So we can't behave like we're living forever. There has to be the right amount of urgency for us to keep moving forward. That's why I'm always about carpe diem. Use your day to the best that you can. Yep. And that's not just work, okay? That doesn't mean work 20-hour days, by the way, for those who misunderstood.
Absolutely not.
That means
that would be counterproductive.
Use your day to the maximum. Yeah, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm me, I need my time, right? I love to study, I love to work. There is time in the day for all these things when they're done right.
Yeah. And I think that people really get, the fact is we have been really trained to focus on the past. So we'll ruminate in the past, which actually, if we get stuck in those past thinking, negative thoughts in the past, that can lead to depression, right? If we spend too much time worrying about those worst case scenarios in the future, we end up in anxiety. So the key thing is really to be present here in this now moment, and then intentionally choosing what we want to create, right? What we want to experience in our future in a positive way, not a like what if kind of situation, but what is it that you want to build, to create, to experience?
Yep, you said the right word, intentionality. Everything is about moving on forward with the intent. What's the intent? What's the intent of this conversation? What's my intent today? If you start with that, that's like your North Star, and you will stay on course because you will always question, am I on the right track? What's my intent here? Am I doing what my intention is to do?
Yeah. And we very often, we think we're being intentional when we're not really, because we are sort of all over the place. We're not very dialed in, right? And the more we can get dialed in this present moment, what is the next step, right? Because I think this is where people go off the fucking rails and become really unproductive. And speaking from complete experience myself, is I think about all the things that I could and should be doing. And then I get actually stuck in a state of overwhelm when I do this, right? So I know people out there listening and be like, oh, yeah, 2 hands up, I do this too, right? The more you think about all of the things all at once that you're going to have to do, instead of focusing here and now and what intention, what experience do I want to create right here, right now, and taking that future desire,
yes,
bringing that into the present moment to say, okay, this is the outcome that I desire. How do I create that intentionally here and now? And I think people, this is why I'm like, not really big goals kind of gal. I'm an intention kind of gal, because your goal, it may or may not play out the way you envision. Yeah. But if you stick with the intention that you want out of that goal. So say your goal is, I don't know, many people be like, I want to make $1 million. Okay. Who doesn't have this goal? Right? Like we all would probably couldn't, wouldn't hate it. But the outcome maybe is a little bit less focused on the number dollar in your bank account. But really, if you want to get into that space quicker, you need to understand, what is it about having $1 million in your bank account? What will that allow you to experience, to create, to feel? And then how can you in this now moment begin to create that very experience? So for me, for example, that would be, freedom and flexibility to create adventures and experiences. It's not about the cash. It's about the ability to choose the experiences and the adventures that I want to have, right? It's not the money. So if I can let go of the dollar amount of money, I feel like, my God, I'm having a message for myself right now. Always. That's how it goes, right? If we let go of it being about the money, how can we start to create those experiences here and now that put us in that state that we desire, that peace, that freedom, that flexibility? How can I experience that today? And when I live in that and I'm vibrating in that energy, it makes things come to you. It attracts those things that you need in order to continue creating that experience.
Well, that's really what you touched up on. That's so perfect. Is that's how you get to feel that desired state. Like you hear that all the time. Like you need to be that. You need to feel that now. And most people are stuck in not knowing how to do that. And you just described it. Like you have to be in the now. You have to have intention, and then create that future. Draw it to you from that future. Now, I'm not big on that word manifest, because I'm all about taking action. But the thing is, if I want to be more confident, right? I don't just sit around and think, oh, confidence, I'm confident. The affirmation alone will not do it. It's in the action that I get to build that confidence. So my intention may be to be a little more confident. And what that does to my brain is open my brain up to see opportunities that are going to help me build that within me, or uncover that within me, right? That's why I'm like huge on taking action, because it's through the action that we move the ball forward. And just before we stopped on the call, we talked about it. Like, what's the comfort? It's what feels like normal. It feels normal not to raise my arm up and say something. It feels normal not to speak up in a networking call. It became the normal, and we don't recognize it as comfort. We recognize it as normal. Well, what's my intention? Is my intention to connect with people on the call? Then I need to reach out. What's my intention? Is my intention to increase my self-confidence? Then I have to speak up, right? What's that intention? And the intention will override that comfort and that normalcy.
Yeah. And I think so, like our brain just functions on this way that it says, what's familiar is comfortable. So let's just maintain the status quo. So we have to be intentional to override that. We have to get curious. We have to ask questions. We need to dive deep. We need to do the inner work. And the inner work is really just getting to know who we are so that we can make sure things are in alignment. We have incongruences, right? For example, because I also got my start in health and fitness and nutrition as well. We can have an intention to lose weight, but if our beliefs are believing that actually, no, I don't actually want to lose weight, that's scary, that's different, it's unfamiliar, we will have this internal battle, and our actions will find ourselves not stepping up and doing the shit that we say we're going to do because it's incongruent. So we want to take that intention. We want to, put that at the forefront of the mind, but we want to also be aware of what else is working in the subconscious, what else is going on in the beliefs in the background that might be incongruent with that. And I agree with you. Manifestation is not like, I'm going to write this down 33 times and it's going to magically happen. That's not how that fucking works. Clarity also, I think here's a couple things that I think really require action. Clarity requires action. Motivation requires action. Manifestation requires action. And a lot of people just think if they just hope and wish and dream and, believe themselves confident, or they expect motivation to come out of thin air, none of these things come to you before you start taking action, right? The proof is in the action. And the same thing, even what you believe to be true about yourself, your identity, it's not your thoughts and your ideas. Those don't create your identity. It's the actions that you take. So taking the time to really be intentional. What do I wish to create? And I like the word create. It's kind of like my word for manifestation. It's the same sort of idea.
Yeah.
But you can't just you decide that you're going to do it. That is actually crucial. You can't actually do it without deciding, this is what I'm going to create. Because then from there you think, okay, I'm going to create this experience. What is the first next step that I need to do? Right? And then you do that. And then guess what? You build the confidence because you did what you said you were going to do. You're one step closer. And that's, to me, it's those baby steps, not trying to leap ahead and do things that are way outside. And like you kind of said, as you're expanding your comfort zone, I reflect back on a life experience in this, which is hiking. And when I first started hiking, I tell you what, there was some kind of conditions that were fucking terrifying. And I was like, oh, I would not do that. Like I did a few things and I was shitting my pants a little bit. And I was like, okay, we're being very steering clear of anything like that again. But as you expand, as you do something slightly more challenging, something that stretches your familiar comfort zone, stretches it and expands it, now it becomes bigger, right? And so now those things that seemed so fucking terrifying before, so difficult, start to feel easy because, when I tell this to my kids all the time, they seem to have this expectation that they're going to be amazing the first fucking time they do something. And if they aren't, then they're like, you know what? I'm not doing it. And it's this idea that we're supposed to be perfect woven in there. It's complete bullshit because nobody is perfect and amazing at things the first time they do it. You get there. You get to that easy, really expert level, mastery level by doing the same shit over and over and over. Maxwell, oh my gosh, brain fart. Oh my gosh, Malcolm Gladwell. Okay, had a hard time circling around. I've not had my coffee yet. As in his book, he mentioned 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. And here we are, humans being like, oh, I tried once and I failed, and so I'm out.
You hear that too much. There's a quote, that says, be brave enough to suck at something new. And that really is the secret to success, right? Just stick with it. You have to be we're going to watch this video in a year and think about, wow, we thought that was great. What was I thinking? Was I saying this right? And you know what I mean? You always can look back. You should always look back and say, oh my God, what was I thinking? Because that means you're growing, you're learning, they're expanding. That's a normal thing. And absolutely, I agree with you. I like the word create a lot. Because people hear, okay, most people I've heard be, do, have. Yeah. Most people I've heard be, do, have. And then people say, well, you have to be the person to do the things, to have the things you want, right? But what people misunderstand is it's in the action that you get to become that person. Just like you talked about hiking, oftentimes I give an example of a runner. Yep. Somebody didn't sit, I hope, somebody didn't just sit and say, oh, I'm a runner. No, that person went running. Then they went running again. Then they added some distance and some speed. Then they ran again and again and again. They said, oh, yeah, I guess I am a runner. I've been running. I'm a runner. That became the identity because of the action that they have taken consistently. So when we're talking about be, do, have, who you need to become, don't just look at be. Don't be like, oh, but I have to become that first. So I'm going to meditate forever till I become that. So then I can take the inspired action to do the things that I need to do. And then I'll have all the things manifested. No, you do the things that such a person would do. So what would a runner do? What would a fit person do? What would a successful person do? What would a confident person do if those are the things that I want to do? Okay, if I don't know, at least I've opened my mind to find the answer to that question. Then I'm going to start taking some action, right? If I start taking that action in the right direction, I'm going to connect with those people. I'm going to connect with people who are ahead of me, who are next to me. I'm going to connect with them. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to find this article. That's how you manifest. That's how you attract things to yourself, because you have opened your mind, open your brain to give the eyes the signal of, oh, recognize this opportunity. Oh, talk to that person. That's when you have the nudge to go talk to someone. But it has to be done through action. And again, that's why I go back to always productivity, because the more time you waste trying to become that person, the less time you have to actually do the things that would have already made you into that person. And I think everybody should always be evolving.
And isn't it interesting how so often we will feel fear about doing the thing? So we will hold ourselves back. We'll maybe get stuck in analysis paralysis. We won't actually do the thing for fear of doing it wrong. When the truth is, that's part of the process, is to explore, to figure out. And this is part of figuring out what is in alignment for me, is testing what is not in alignment so that I can see where those boundaries are. And I talked on the show a few weeks ago about boundaries. And this is such an interesting topic and a tiny sidebar. And then we're going to bring it right back to productivity. But it's kind of related to this idea, because we sometimes don't know what our boundaries are until they've been crossed, right? This is part of the explorative self-discovery process, to go out there and try things out and realize, oh, okay, that was not for me. That didn't feel good. That didn't work the way I hoped. I didn't like that outcome. And then learn from that, right? Shift it. So maybe in the case of boundaries, maybe you don't realize that something is a problem for you until someone has done said thing to you. And you're like, oh shit, like that felt horrible. And I don't want to have that again. You have to take the action to set the boundary if you don't want that to happen again, right? So it's learning, it's growing. It's like touching the edges, getting really comfortable on those edges, right? So that you can learn about yourself, so that you can then be and experience and act from a place where you know this thing is in alignment or that thing is not in alignment. Are you tired of feeling burnt out and overwhelmed by trying to please everyone else? Do you find yourself constantly putting other people's needs ahead of your own, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and resentful? Break free from the cycle of people-pleasing and take back control of your life. Learn how to identify and break free from the patterns of people-pleasing that are holding you back. Learn practical tools and strategies to set healthy boundaries and prioritize your own needs so that you can find a sense of peace and fulfillment in your life. Imagine waking up each day feeling energized and excited about your life. Imagine living life on your own terms. Don't wait any longer to take control of your life and find true happiness. The Path to True Happiness and Authenticity, a masterclass for people pleasers. Now, we promised today to talk about the 3 quickest ways to compress time so that we can be at least 40% more productive. Part of this is a little bit of this trial and error, right? Because we have to know what it is that is working for us. And sometimes we got to try the shit that doesn't work so that we can be like, oh, that's not it. And then figure out the things that are going to work. What is that next baby step, that next step, building slowly so that we can start making that massive momentum that we're meant to make.
Yes. So
So,
actually what you were talking about leads straight into it because you
of
were
course.
talking about boundaries.
Yeah.
And what happens is, especially women, but I've seen men do this too, but especially women, we say yes to everything, right? So the first thing with boundaries in with productivity is learning this sentence. Let me get back to you on that. Okay? So next time you want to say yes, or you hear it say yes, you go, oh shit. Just take it back and say, hey, hold on. Let me get back to you on that. I have to check my calendar. Okay? That gives you time to figure out, do you really want to commit to that? Second thing about saying yes to everything, besides being a people pleaser that we women have been taught to be, is it takes away from my time on the things that I need to be doing, because in my mind they're justified. That person needed my help and they needed me and they needed me and I feel so good helping them. But the truth is I'm hiding from doing the work that I need to be doing for me. So this is that moment where we're like, oh, but I don't want to be selfish. I just had a tweet today that I posted. You have to recharge yourself just like you have to recharge your phone. Like people, when they see their phone battery at like 10 or 15%, they're like freaking out to find the charger. But when they're running on like 1%, they're like, oh, I can still help you out. Sure, I'll get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and drive halfway across the country for you. No, you need to learn to say no. You need to learn to say yes to those things that actually align with your intention. So the first thing is learning how to say yes and how to say no to the right things and wrong things.
Yep.
So what are the right things you do need to say yes for? Give yourself time to think about it. What is my intention? Does this align with where I'm going? Does this align with my goals and my dreams? Okay, this makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And ask yourself consciously, am I doing this just so I can avoid doing the work that I need to do? And when you ask yourself that way, you will always know the answer. It's that subconscious movement forward. Oh, yes. Oh, sure. I'll do that. Oh, yeah. I'll help you decorate. No, you don't need to help someone decorate. You need to be calling your prospects, right? So where is that? Or I calculate everything in time. And now that I'm a mom, I calculate everything in time with my son. Because when I'm not working, I'm with my son. So I always tell people, like, this is my time away from my son. Is this making sense for me to do?
Yeah.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And we had a call recently. We were going to be on this like a quarterly meeting, and it was going to be 6 of us or 5 of us, and the girl originally scheduled for 4 hours. And I straight up told her, I'm like, this is my time away from my son. Do we really need 4 hours for this? And then she ended up narrowing it down to 2 hours. So we can find time when we learn to say yes and no. So that's a first productivity hack right there.
I think it's really ultimately like creating the time. It's being intentional with how you're spending your time, right? Absolutely. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to other things.
Something else.
And just being really aware that every choice you make, or even the choices you don't make, have an outcome. And are you comfortable with that outcome? Or is that outcome actually going to make you, regret your choice later, feel guilty or shameful about your choice later, or just make you feel really, frustrated and resentful and disappointed that I never have enough time for me. And this idea of self-care and self-love, being selfish, is the biggest bullshit we've ever been sold. And we have bought it hook, line, and sinker. It's that good girl conditioning, like always give to everyone else before you consider yourself. And here's the problem with that is if you are a fucking wreck, if you are exhausted and burnt out and completely out of any fucks to give, you are no use to give to anybody else. No. And yet we still show up and we're just resentful and bitter about it.
Again, that's that thing running on 1%. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you're like, yeah, that's me, I don't have time for myself, you have to learn to say no to other things. You have to learn to set boundaries. My kid is 4. I couldn't set a boundary when he was a baby. Oh yeah, just go change your own diaper. That's not how it works, right? Like there are certain things you're gonna have to do. I signed up to be a mom. This is what I have to do, right? It's not an option. I guess it shouldn't be an option.
Yeah, anyway, not a good one.
Now, right? He's 4 now. There's things he can do. So it's age appropriate. I can't be like, kid, go make your own food, right? But I do put things in the fridge that he can take on his own that are at his eye level. The pears and the bananas and the apples, they're at his view. That's how we organize the fridge. So the things that he can take on his own are his own. Then, putting clothes on. He's still learning how to do that, but things that he can do, he's doing on his own, even when he's struggling. People need to understand that we have to allow others to learn for themselves. And one of the things that goes with the whole nice, good girl thing is, and it goes with a human need to be needed. Okay, so we all have a need to be needed. Fine, acknowledge that need, but watch yourself. Are you doing it in a healthy way? Because if you're not, you are going to suffer. My mom did this. She never went over the need to be needed. So when we left the household, she never recovered from it. You don't want to do that. Why would you do that? Now, I'm not, so some people can disagree with this. A lot of people say put your marriage before your kids. I'm not that type of person. My husband's not that type of person. For us, our son is our choice and he's our number one. To each their own. You may disagree with it or not, but you have to live aligned with your own values. That goes into productivity, because if you're misaligned with your values, no matter how productive you are, you're going to be miserable. So my value is spending time with my son. That means I will never spend 20 hours a day working. Does that mean that someone who is maybe a guy or someone who doesn't spend that much time with their kids or whatever their situation is, they're probably going to be ahead of me faster? That's fine. I'm not competing with them. I am happy every night when I go to sleep because of how my day went. But also in the 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours that I've worked, I get the maximum amount of productivity. So I get the most amount of work done.
Yeah.
I'm a little passionate about this.
Yeah, you can tell. And I think we could all stand to be a little bit more passionate about this, because we have taken the conditioning from society and we have run with that. And oftentimes we're chasing someone else's version of success. We're chasing someone else's, ideals for happiness. And the truth is, we don't take the time to figure out what it is that makes us feel successful, what makes us feel happy. And so as long as we're chasing that other shit that we've been sold as a lie, because it's not true happiness and peace and all that is not out there, it's in you. As long as we're chasing it, we're going to come up short. There's no ifs, ands, or but. And if we believe it's out there, even if we achieve it, it's going to be temporary, because now it's going to be on to the next thing that's out there. And the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. We're forever fucking chasing a mirage. It's not out there. Right?
No, exactly.
And that's the care for ourselves first.
Yeah. And that's self-care. Like, self-care is not just massages and nails and all that stuff. Self-care is taking my time for me, taking my time back. Oh, I've been saying yes to you my whole life. Okay, you know what? I have a new boundary. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to have people test your boundaries. Some will test them because they're mean. Rarely. Most will test because they're not used to your new boundaries. So you have to reinforce it. You just get mad at them. But I have a rule of 3. If you don't respect my boundary after 3 times, you're not listening, you don't care enough, I'm out, or you're out, whatever. Right? Someone's got to leave that door.
Yep.
So that's the first thing, is learning what to say yes to, or learning what to say no to, because you have to consciously evaluate your choices, right? Then the second thing I want to mention is sleep. People do not understand how underrated sleep is. It's the number one biggest productivity hack. People, they rate themselves. When I tell them, like, rate yourself from 1 to 10, and listeners do that.
Yeah.
Most people are going to say 6 or 7. They're really at a 2 or a 3. People just don't understand how important sleep is. And I have a whole spiel on sleep that I can share on the steps of what to do. You have to get blue light filter on your phone. You have to get apps that lock your apps. You have to get sunlight in the morning, and you don't have to do all these things at once. You can do one thing at a time. So the other thing is your AM and PM habits, right? Like, prepare yourself for bedtime and then prepare yourself for the day ahead. Those are huge, 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 very overlooked points when it comes to productivity, because these things alone will increase your productivity by 20, 30, 40, 50% in some cases. I have a client right now who we changed her whole sleep routine, and she's been diagnosed with bipolar, and she would go up and down. And now she's like, woo, I can actually live my life. Mm-hmm. This is someone that's been actually diagnosed with something that's supposed to be manic and then depressive, manic and depressive. We could change that through sleep and then through nutrition. So it's a big part of it, how I operate throughout the day as a human being. That's the second thing I want to mention. And then the third thing is, when you take time to plan out your week, if you don't want to take time to plan out your whole week, at least when you sit down, plan out your whole day. The reason I like to do it the night before or the week before is because when I sit down, if I don't feel like it, I may fall for that emotion.
Yep.
But when I have my plan in front of me and I know my intention and I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, I go and I execute. And I can play games with myself. If I don't feel like it today, what is the minimum amount of work that I have to do today to feel that I have moved forward? Once that's done, I'm done and I can move on with my day. And a lot of times you catch the momentum and you keep working, but sometimes you're like, you know what? I worked enough. I did the main things. I'm done for the day. I'm going to go spend time with my kid. So those are the three top things. There's, of course, a list of things, but those are the three top things is learn what to say yes to and what to say no to. And your magic words are, let me get back to you on that. Second one is sleep. Getting into a good sleep, quality sleep hacks, like I said, apps that block your apps on the phone that you're scrolling on at night, not having LED light in your house or on your phone, getting outside in the morning, first thing in the morning to see the daylight, not looking in the sun, but so your eyes get the daylight, the real sun in there. Schedule a PM routine where maybe you meditate, maybe you do Epsom salt bath, maybe you have your own little routine. And even if you take 5 minutes for this, for those who are crazy busy and have like 5 kids and a crazy life, if you just take 5 minutes for this, you will feel like you had your me time. It's huge. And then the third thing is planning ahead and then time blocking.
That sleep thing is so huge, and especially for moms, because I know so many moms out there, I see it and hear all the time, how they feel like the only time that they can take for themselves is at 10, 11, 12 at night after the kids have gone to sleep. And this is a cycle that keeps you trapped in never feeling like you have enough fucking time, because you're always, well, first of all, the idea of taking time suggests that there's not an abundance of time, that time is a limited resource, and that you are having to sacrifice to take the time for yourself. First of all, that sounds absurd, right? Because again, you are the priority. If you don't care for yourself, you're no use to anyone else. And so this idea of like, oh, I'm just going to take the time at 10, 11, 12 at night sets you on this cycle of sleep deprivation. And we all know sleep deprivation is actually a torture tool. So hello, you wake up in the morning when the kids wake up at 5 or 6 fucking a.m. or whatever time, and now you need 40 cups of coffee to survive your day. I've been there. And the coffee makes you anxious. The coffee makes you all kind of jittery and
well, it exhausts your central nervous system. So people that run on coffee, they don't really realize they're exhausting their central nervous system. It's like they're borrowing the energy that they should have later. So they need another cup of coffee, another cup of coffee. And an easy solution to that is staying hydrated, but also with a sleep. Like we know you get moody when you don't sleep well. You cannot be productive. This is why you find yourself scrolling on social media or checking stupid emails, because your brain doesn't have the energy to focus. If I didn't sleep well, the first thing I go is, okay, I really have to be on top of my hydration and nutrition today. What can I give to my brain to give it the most energy to operate at its best level possible, right? So hydration, drink that water before you drink your coffee for sure.
And the thing about the coffee is, okay, I like coffee. I'm not bashing coffee, but people misunderstand. Coffee does not actually give you energy. It actually masks the fact that you are low on energy. So what happens is you trick yourself into believing you now have more energy when you don't. Now this leads to problems the next night in sleeping, because your brain doesn't recognize that it's been fucking exhausted this whole time because the coffee falsely led you to believe you have this energy. Yeah. So it's not a fix in any way, shape, or form. It's actually a mask for what's truly going on.
It's not magically, yes. It's not creating magic energy within you. Yeah. It's borrowing from your future energy. Yeah. So again, that means you're going to need more energy later on. This is why sleep, hydration, nutrition are absolutely key. Now, if you want coffee, have it in the morning. First water, then coffee. Yeah. Have it, but that's it. You should not have coffee. Oh, coffee doesn't affect me. That really means you have so much caffeine in your body that your central nervous system is so exhausted. And this is why I always get people I negotiate sometimes with my clients to maybe have 2 cups a day, but hydration is way more important than coffee. So yes, so those are if people apply these things, like just fix the sleep, work on your sleep, but don't create anxiety now to yourself to have perfect sleep all the time.
Yeah.
Learn to say yes or no, and then you pre-plan night before, evening before you finish for the day. Just plan out what the next day is. I have a list of daily 5. I have 5 things that I absolutely have to do every day. And I review that list, and it's right in front of me here. I review. I'm like, okay, if I finish this today, am I going to feel like I'm moving the needle forward? Yes. Is there anything else I can do? This is good. Okay, now once this is done, then I can do other things, extra things, and so on. So you can do that too. You can do the daily top 5. It's like the
And I
golden.
think that helps to reduce the mental load, because here's the thing: structure actually creates the freedom that we want. So we have this idea that we don't want to be like confined down to a specific list of things to do. I know I have been there for sure, and I have tried this both ways. So I'm sharing from my own experience. The more freedom I try and create directly, the more I don't know what the fuck's going on, the more I'm not on task, I'm not focused, I'm just kind of floundering about and actually getting stuck more in my head about all the shit that I need to do than actually doing the things. So creating that top 5, for example, I created a spreadsheet a few months ago where it lists out the things that I want to do. Some of them are personal commitments for me, like my morning meditation, reading, and some of them are business related things. So maybe it's posting something, or engaging with something, or promoting something, whatever it is, my list of things to do. Now, what I didn't anticipate was how much space in my brain that was going to free up, because now I don't have to wake up and think, what do I need to do today? I have a list of, I'm going to do this, 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 and this.
Well, what you're avoiding is the decision-making exhaustion, right? So we all get exhausted after making. This is why by the time 5 p.m. comes and people are thinking about dinner, they can't think straight, because they've exhausted their ability to make decisions for the day. And this is why decisions like, should I put makeup on? What kind of hair? How should I do my hair today? What should I wear today? Should not be made in the morning. Do all these things at night. Have a routine, and the brain thrives on routine, because you will absolutely free your mental space to make other decisions that are necessary. And like for me, I start working around 11 or 12 noon, and in the morning I'm with my son, but sometimes my husband's like, hey, what are we going to make for lunch or dinner today? And I'm like, I am not making that decision right now, because I haven't even started working for the day. I'm not going to waste my energy on that, because that's really how the brain operates. It wants to conserve the energy. So absolutely. And when I did market research with people, a lot of people are afraid of the word productivity or discipline because it sounds so robust and so robotic. And it is never going to go the way you planned it. So even if you want to be as militant as you want to, life is going to throw shit your way, and you're going to have the little obstacle course going your way every day that you have to work around. So don't be afraid of being militant. But you know what? If the price is the shortest path to success and the shortest path to my goals, and the only price I have to pay is to actually be disciplined, and I don't care that it's robotic. I'm just going to execute it, because when I'm out and about, then I don't have to be that, right? I can train myself to be that discipline, to be that me, militant, consistent, robotic, whatever. It doesn't feel sexy, doesn't sound sexy. I'm willing to do that a few hours a day if that means the shortest path to success. Because if that means I'm going to be where I want to be in 3 years or 6 months rather than 10 years, that's a small price to pay.
And I think we get scared about that. But the truth is, if we're scared about, I don't want to be so disciplined, I don't have that commitment, all of these kind of stories we tell, you already are committed. Okay. So here's the thing. You're already committed. You're just not aware of it, and you're not intentional about it. You are committed to living your day in, day out, on autopilot, whether you know it or not. So what we're suggesting is that you are doing the same kind of committed daily, day in, day out thinking, but you're doing it with purpose, with intention to move the needle forward.
Yes.
Anything else that you would like to share as far as productivity, or we covered so much good stuff. It was so juicy. Any other last thoughts that you'd like to share on this?
Well, I love to share for those who are having a hard time getting things done, or have an entrepreneurial ADHD, or just don't know where to start. I have created what I call accountability workspace, or co-working space. So literally a spreadsheet of sessions throughout the day, every day, Monday through Friday. They can pick and choose from, and they can just join a session We go in 25 and 50-minute work increments. You state what you're going to work on. You go on mute. We're going to get the work done. You state what was done. There's just the right amount of pressure to actually get out of comfort zone and move forward and do what we were supposed to do. And this alone has increased productivity to my clients by 40%. That's why I open it up to everybody, is because it started like that. I just launched it, and it's $1 a day. It's $35 a month to be able to join any session, anytime, and get the work done and move forward. And again, this is for those who are, I've had people do workouts. This is for those who have a list of things that they know they need to do, but they're just not doing it. I've had people do workouts. I had people make client calls. I had people do all kinds of things on the calls because of all the things that they know they need to do. They just need to be held accountable to actually execute them. And this is for the people who are done playing it small, because you do have to show up. You have to state what you're going to do. You have to state what was done. It's not to play small. It's to get you out of the comfort zone. So that's what I would like to offer to your people, because the first 20 are 35, then the price goes up.
I think a lot of people who would identify as people pleasers can benefit from something like this. Now, this is taking those tendencies and in a positive way, leveraging that need to have sort of that external force, right? So this is a more healthy way of using that to your benefit to get some external, like you say, isn't not like heavy pressure, but enough pressure on you to do the things that you say you want to do so that you will show up and do them, because it ultimately is for you. Absolutely. But we know that people who really strive for that external validation can sometimes benefit by having that extra little bit of accountability from someone that is not them, right?
Yes, and also they've done a study. They've done a study at work, at work, like offices. And by proxy, when people sit within, I think it was a 2-yard or 3-yard radius from a high achiever, high performer, they increase their productivity by 15%. When they sit next to a low performer, they decrease their productivity by 30%. So this is literally this is the energy. You come, I'm a high achiever, a high performer and high achiever by all means. You come, you're going to get in that zone. You're going to be surrounded with other people that are like that. And we're building it up. So the whole idea is to build it up to have the go-getters. And absolutely, people pleasers are great people to join this as well, because you have that need to show up for yourself. And then another thing is, you never want to say, oh, I didn't get that done. And that's that healthy amount of pressure. Nobody's pressuring you, putting a gun to your head to get things done. It's still on you, but it's a healthy amount of pressure under which we thrive as humans.
Yeah, and just to build up the habit of doing the things that you say you want to and are going to do, right? Because that builds confidence, right? That creates clarity and direction. That builds the momentum and the motivation that you need to keep going for the long haul. Because if you have a business, you have to be in it for the long term, right? Because you can't just go in and try a few things and then you're out. That's not how that works. It takes time to build. And so you need to be consistent. Now, this consistency doesn't mean you need to show up 200% every single day. It means you need to show up at least one step every day, right? Yes. And the more you show up consistently 1 step per day, then some days you're going to feel on fire and you're going to get 10 things done.
Yes.
And then you're going to feel so good that you're going to be like, okay, well, what's next? And then you're going to get 20 things done, right? And you get this snowball effect where all of a sudden things feel so much easier, right?
Yeah, people rely on motivation, and motivation is created through action. When you start taking, again, you're not motivated because of who you are so far, what your habits are so far. When you start taking action, you start getting more motivated. You start getting aligned with who you really need to be. And then you create that snowball effect, and you just keep going. That's the thing about motivation. Don't wait on motivation. Take action.
Yeah. You can't have the motivation. That's just it's backwards. People have it backwards in their mind. So start taking action. The motivation is going to come after you start taking action. Let the listeners know where they can find you online. And I know we'll have some links and stuff below, but just in a broad sense, where can people find you and connect with you?
Sure, I'm on all major platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find me under Leks Vucko, Vucko. Leks is spelled Leks. Also HercuLeks.com or ZoominHour.com. That's the co-working space. To find more information, sign up. I should be everywhere on social media, so it shouldn't be that hard to find me. You just got to get the spelling right.
Yeah. And I noticed also that you have a free trial for the co-working thing. So there is literally no risk. Try it out, see if it boosts your productivity. There is no risk to you to give it a go. And you just might surprise yourself and start building a little bit more confidence, motivation, and efficiency before you know it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any final thoughts that you would like to share and leave with the listeners today? I know you had one encouragement that you wanted someone to, the people listening, to go out and actually do something today. Take action on one of these things. Maybe that's just getting a good sleep tonight. Maybe that's turning off your phone a little earlier. Maybe that's, starting out your day, having that to-do list so that your brain and your feelings don't get in the way of you doing the things that are going to help you accomplish all that you intend to create.
Yes.
Any other last minute thoughts?
Yeah, decide what that one change is going to be and commit to someone. This is the key, because you've been lying to yourself for so long, you don't trust yourself anymore in actions. Commit to someone else to say, this is what I'm going to do. And then just execute without falling for I just don't feel like it. That's the trick.
That is the trick. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your incredible wisdom today. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I know that there is a ton of value. I would encourage you to do exactly what Leks just said. Take one thing that you learned today, one aha moment, and go and implement it today. Let someone know. If you want to let us know, we would love to hear from you. If that's, if you'd like to share with us, we would love that. And otherwise, I just want to tell you all that I love you all so much. Now let's go do some epic shit, shall we?
Take action.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Create Your Happy's special bonus season. I trust this real, raw, uncut conversation will fuel your inner fire and provide you with the practical action steps needed to propel you forward. It's time to unlock your path to consciously creating an impact and leaving your legacy. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share with other women in your life who could use a little extra inspiration today. My guest and I would love to hear from you. You'll find the links to connect with us both in the show notes. And if you're ready to take your life, relationship, and business to the next level, I invite you to consider working with me one-on-one. Together, we'll up-level every aspect of your beautiful human journey to create the fulfilling relationships that you desire and deserve. Reach out to learn more about how we can embark on this transformative journey together. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.